Good evening. I'd like to now start the May 8th Board of Education meeting. And if we can have Lori lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we're going to start with special presentations.
Good evening. It's nice to see so many people here tonight. And I just want to congratulate all of our students here who are being recognized for their accomplishments, their achievements. I know you have the Night of Excellence coming up. We have National Honor Society induction on Thursday night. There's a lot of celebrations of excellence, but I think it's important to have honor those students who achieve and excel in different ways, academically, athletically, artistically, and in all the ways that you excel in our schools and make us all proud. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge a number of recipients of acknowledgments tonight for different reasons. We're also going to continue this at the June meeting when we celebrate another set of students and also our retirees. So a lot of excitement over the next month ahead. So I'm going to start with the acknowledgement of our valedictorian for the class of 2023. And Spencer Michalak, did I say that correctly? Michalak? Michalak. There was an attorney who worked with the board. It was Michalak, so Michalak. Got it that time? All right, so I'm sorry. And I've seen Spencer so many times, and he's an outstanding young man, so I will make sure I work on that. Spencer has, this is the bio, and you'll hear this again at Night of Excellence, but I wanted to share it here. Spencer has had an exceptional academic career at PHS. As valedictorian, he has the highest cumulative GPA of his 164 fellow classmates. He received gold honor roll status every year while at PHS. He has continually challenged himself with some of our most rigorous and challenging courses at PHS. He will have taken 9 AP or ECE early college experience UConn courses when he graduates. He will have earned over 30 credits while at PHS, almost a full year's worth beyond the graduation requirement. He's a member of the National Honor Society, Spanish National Honor Society, Math Honor Society, and Science Honor Society. He serves as president of the Math National Honor Society, vice president of the Science National Honor Society, and treasurer of the National Honor Society. Outside of the classroom, Spencer has been very involved at PHS as well. He has been president of the Student Council every year since his sophomore year. He's also a member of the PHS swim team. He also worked as a server at Friendly's this year for approximately 15 hours a week. I don't know where you found that time to do that. It's incredible. Spencer plans to attend the University of Washington and plans to major in environmental science. And on a personal note, and I mentioned in my newsletter, but Spencer was one of the students who really stepped up incredibly at the senior citizen prom that we had here last week. And it's so much fun, but it's a lot of work and a lot of planning. Bella knows she was a major part of that as well. And I'm just so proud of the character of our students, in addition to all the accolades and achievements. And it's just really impressive to see that level of leadership through character. So, Spencer, come on up and we'll get you your first of many recognitions over the month ahead. Mom and Dad, if you want to come up. You don't have to if you don't want, but I'm sure you're pretty proud of this guy.
Yeah, just gonna have you step back against the black screen. That'd be great.
Cover this whole
Very nice. All right. Excellent. No, we're good. Okay. Big smiles. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Hold that, please. Excellent. And one more. 1, 2, and 3. Congratulations.
Next, it is my distinct pleasure to announce the salutatorian to the class of 2023. Matthew Kazinko. Did I get that one right? Whew, all right. Thanks. All right. Matthew has had an extraordinary academic career while a PHS student. As salutatorian, he has the second highest cumulative GPA of his 164 classmates. He earned gold honor roll every quarter during his time at PHS. He's continually challenged himself with some of the most rigorous classes at PHS. This sounds familiar, I know. At PHS, he has taken 10 AP or ECE courses. He will have earned over 31 credits when he graduates this June, almost a full year's worth beyond the required credits for graduation. He's a member of the National Honor Society, Math National Honor Society, Science National Honor Society, and Spanish National Honor Society. He serves as president for both the Spanish and Science National Honor Societies. Matthew's been has been actively involved outside of the classroom. At PHS, he's a member of the cross country and track teams. Here at PHS, he has also been heavily involved in the planning and constructing of the greenhouse here at the high school. He was also a senior leader for the Empower program for freshmen in the fall, showing his leadership skills and dedication. Matthew plans to attend the University of Connecticut in the fall and majoring in mechanical engineering with a concentration in aerospace engineering, so kind of setting the bar really low, huh? So congratulations to Matthew Kazinko on his incredible achievement as well. Come on up, Matthew. You can bring your family.
Just come on. There you go. Perfect. All right. 1, 2, and 3. One more. And last one. 1, 2, and 3. All set. Congratulations.
Okay, next it's my pleasure to introduce the top 10% of the class of 2023. Now I know I had them alphabetically ordered, but I believe the certificates are chronologically ordered, so bear with me. And I'm going to read from the certificates. You know, everyone in this top 10%, it's a major achievement, and sometimes it's a separation of hundredths of a point, very, very small margin. So everyone in this group is just an outstanding student, should all be proud. So I'd like to congratulate the top 10%. I know you're all going to get medals at the Night of Excellence, and it's an exciting opportunity for you. But tonight you get a certificate and a handshake. So it looks like we have, well, I have Spencer again. So Spencer, you get another certificate. Come on up. And Matthew as well. So I'll come to you. Get my steps in. All right. All right, next, Allison Wiz.
Congratulations.
Did I say your name right? Yes. Nice job. Joshua Smith.
Congratulations.
Megan Gray. Lily Fairabend. It's a busy time of year, so some students have conflicts. Nora Couture. Nice job. You had a little something on this.
Congratulations.
Nice job. Seth Lizon. Lizen. Did I get it right? Lizen? No, I'm sorry. Daniel Talarico.
Congratulations.
Leah Rocci. Yeah. Another prom buddy.
Congratulations.
Michael Ouellette. Nolan Wargo. Ethan Broccoli. Natalie Basil. The last Basil. Congratulations. Great job. Anneli St. Lawrence. How's your match? Did you win?
No.
That's okay. Michelle Grzuski. Congratulations. Dale Nera. Congratulations to everyone in our top 10% of students here at PHS. Great job. Next, we are going to go on to, a lot of recognitions tonight. The Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference Scholar Athlete Award. And I know some of the students couldn't be here tonight because they're involved in athletics. Some of you were able to make it, and we appreciate it. This recognition goes to 2 students at the high school, and there's also, there's 2 at the high school and 2 at the middle school. The Scholar Athlete Program annually recognizes 2 high school seniors from each member high school whose academic and athletic careers have been exemplary, whose personal standards and achievements are a model to others, and who possess high levels of integrity, self-discipline, and courage. I want to make sure I get these in the right order. Yes. So the Scholar Athletes of the Year are Nora Couture, and Michael Ouellette. Sorry. The next recognition tonight are the CABE Student Leadership Awards. This is the one that's for the high school and middle school. I apologize. And they stick together, so, all right. All right. So the CAPE Student Leadership Awards recognize leadership. These leadership award program is designed to honor high school and middle school students who exhibit exemplary leadership skills. 2 students from each school in a CABE member district are eligible to receive the CABE Student Leadership Awards. Principals are to ask their staff for nominations and select students who exhibit leadership skills that include willingness to take on challenges, capability to make difficult decisions, concern for others, ability to work with others, and willingness to commit to a project, as well as diplomacy, ability to understand issues clearly, and ability to honor a commitment. This year's recipients are Isabella Grasso, hold on. Sorry, Bella.
That's okay.
This is, no, that's not it. That's not it. Here you are.
Yeah, that's me.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Bella. And Spencer Michalak. I make a lot of mistakes, but I usually learn pretty quick. Nice job. Congratulations again.
Congratulations.
And for our middle school level recipients, the same exact criteria apply. And I would like to congratulate and honor Joseph Chase.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a good handshake.
Congratulations. Oh, wow.
He's got a good grip.
He does.
Mr. Chase, you taught him that, didn't you? It's a firm grip. Nice job. And our last CABE recognition recipient, but not least, Student Leadership Award goes to Hayden Cooney. They spelled your name wrong again. They're sending us another one, okay? Yeah.
Congratulations.
I apologize. The name was spelled wrong somehow, and CABE sent us the wrong, so we're getting the new one, so it's coming. But we know who you are, and you do a great job. Congratulations. And I think that concludes our award, our special recognitions tonight. We are going to be honoring the CABE, the CAS Art Awards at the June board meeting. So we're looking forward to doing that as well, among some other awards. So congratulations to all of our award recipients. That concludes our special announcements, and thank you very much.
So, yeah. Just the beginning of the whole picture take. I'm so sorry.
We're on approval of minutes.
Yep. The awards. Good.
We're going to move forward to approval of minutes. We have 5 sets of minutes this evening. If there are no objections or corrections to the minutes, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve item A, which includes minutes of the April 17th regular business of the board. Item B, special meeting of the board of April 24th, 23. Item C, special meeting of the board of April 28th, 23. And special meeting of the board of May 1st, 2023. And special meeting of the board, May 2nd, 2023.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Are there any corrections or concerns? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Next, we'll have Val, student representative report. Do you have a report for us this evening?
Good evening, y'all. The honor students of PHS have officially entered what is known as testing season. Although a lot of events have been happening in regards to sports, fundraisers, the community, a majority of the focus has been concentrated on AP tests. Seniors have begun preparing for end-of-the-year activities like the canoeing trip and the senior picnic. The juniors and seniors also preparing for this year's prom, with tickets concluding sale last week. Seniors are also starting to prepare for graduation events, with the school day count getting progressively shorter. Looking back, the first National Honor Society meeting was held on May 3rd, 2023 in the morning. The meeting mainly consisted of elections and students running for offices, all of whom made speeches to classmates. I personally ran for treasurer, so we'll see how that works out this Wednesday. The senior citizen prom was held very successfully and was administered by Mr. LePage, Mrs. Barbagallo, Plainville Rotary Club, as well as the junior and senior class officers. AP testing started last week and has been held in both the large gym and the counseling suite for any people taking APs independently. 3 down, 1 more to go. Hoorah. The boys and girls track team competed against Bristol Central last Tuesday, with the girls winning the meet and the boys coming very close. Some PHS long distance records are very close to being broken. The second National Honor Society meeting for the class of 2024 is going to be held in the morning this Wednesday, May 10th, at which the National Honor Society officer elections results are going to be announced. AP tests are going to be concluding very soon, with the last of them being taken this week. Tomorrow, the AP language and composition test will be administered in the large gym, being the most popular of all of them. Thankfully, that'll be the last. SAT retakes will be taking place on June 3rd. There isn't a large group of students signed up, but I will be participating in the retake. The PHS Band and Choir concert is going to be held on May 18th at 7 p.m. Prom will be taking place on June 3rd at the AquaTurf Club facility. Tickets finished sale last week, and table seating selection has also just begun today. The class of 2024 is also holding a car wash fundraiser in the PHS bus loop on Saturday, May 20th, and graduation is set to take place on June 12th at 7 p.m. outside the alumni field if everything goes as planned. That concludes the student perspective.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to move forward to citizens' comments. If you'd like to address the members of Plainville Board of Education, you are welcome to do so. You will have 3 minutes to voice the matter at hand or your area of concern. Does anyone wish to address the Plainville Board of Education? You could step forward.
John Kislick, 65 Forest Hill Avenue. Good evening, Board of Ed and Becky. I single out Becky because she thinks I'm losing it in my old age. Anyway, there's a lot of people, parents and whatever, been attending council meetings. And that's what brought me out here today. I mean, you had some people there that were really, really rude. Some act like kindergartners that are high on sugar or something. Had one person use foul language, say that the council was stupid and ignorant. And, you know, I just hope that this board isn't condoning that kind of things at council meetings and disrespect for our elected officials for our town. The other thing is that renovate his new project. The state owes Plainville, I guess, close to $3 million for Wheeler School. I mean, it's been in operation for, I guess, over 2 years. And that program has problems. There's been investigations by the FBI and the state for inappropriate things happening. And with that in mind, I don't see how this board would want to even do another contract with the state with these kind of conditions. They don't honor their contracts with us. They're not paying us. Plainville could really use that $3 million for their budget. So, you know, think twice about what you're getting into with this renovate as new project that they have. Now, there's a couple other things. Parents are talking about safety in the middle school. We have a building official in town. We have the health and sanitation department. Somebody said something about an elevator. The elevators are regulated by a state department. I'm sure any of these officials are not going to allow the students to be in any unsafe conditions. So, you know, they're just over-exaggerating things. They're over-exaggerating stuff, and, you know, it's not right. You know, They're just getting everybody all riled up for nothing. The other thing I have, they're talking about class sizes. I'm gonna show my age now. Going back to 1958, fifth grade, Caroline Somerville in Linden Street School, we did a class yearbook, a mimeograph things, and I dug it out. 24 kids in our class. Now, why can't teachers nowadays handle 24? They have all these computers and everything. The teachers had nothing. Why are they complaining so much about 18 kids is too much? I mean, these are just my issues and my feelings. It seems to me that the education system is not up to snuff. You're reading about test scores are going down more and more, so something's wrong here. That's all I have to say tonight, and like always, your meetings are way too long for me. I appreciate you giving me the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kissler.
Past my bedtime.
Would anybody else wish to address the Plainville Board of Education? You can come down.
Hi, my name is, ooh. I usually don't need a microphone, but now I know why. My name is Felicia Mandeville. I live at 22 Sissio Court. I said I was going to write a letter, but, you know, I take care of an 82-year-old man with dementia and a 15-year-old freshman from this school, so I don't have time. So I showed up, skipped dinner and everything. So I first want to start with a note that I took. Mr. LePage gave a statistic of 164 students graduating. Was it 164 or 168? I graduated high school from this school in 1992, and I can tell you the number was less than that. And there was nobody thinking about closing a school down 31 years ago. There was not even a thought of it. My degrees are in marketing, business education, and special education. I also have a degree in educational leadership, and I've been in education for 20 years. And this isn't about my resume. It's about the fact that I get it. I know what y'all are talking about. I've been through 2 new school construction jobs as a teacher, and I can say at the end result, everybody was very happy. Taxes are going to go up whether we like it or not. We all thought that we were going to get some special treatment when Kohl's came in. Didn't happen. My taxes still have gone up. That is inevitable in life. All 14 of my years have been in alliance districts, which I can tell you, 24 students today, that's too many. I have been working in inner city schools where we have had 30 kids in a classroom, where we have had children that didn't have seats. I work in a school right now which is OSHA regulated, and some of our classes at 18 are still too big. It took me only 2 seconds to pull up some statistics from EdSite that show that our special education numbers have increased in the past 10 years. Also, our ELL numbers have increased. If you have increasing numbers in these areas, you cannot have increased class sizes. Also, yes, our student population has decreased, but when it is only decreased by 100, how do you expect to move 500 children into other buildings? Again, not possible. My brother-in-law is an actuary. You can crunch numbers, but you can't crunch people. They're humans. They have bones. Sorry. Education is a business, and I'm sorry that I have to add this part because one of our lovely community members was coming at me on social media, and I don't like to get belittling like that, but the reality is education is a business, and if you don't have a good product or service, people are not going to come to your school. More and more parents are choosing alternative education. They are choosing homeschool. They are choosing magnet schools. They're choosing trade schools and private school. So if you're not going to provide a good service, they're not going to come. And that's just the first step. The second step is selling their homes and moving to another community where education and their children are valued. These are humans you're speaking of. I only have one of them. I can tell you that Mrs. Stefanowitz, my first grade teacher at Trask School, Oh, by the way, I am the victim of one of your school closures. In third grade, Trask School was closed, and I had to leave my lovely little building, which still stands and still operates as a usable government building today, to get moved to Linden. It was not a very good experience, but I remember all of my teachers from Plainville schools. I remember Mrs. Stefanowitz. I remember Mrs. Stabenow. Mr. Prue, my Linden Street school principal, I still have dinner with him. So these are important people. Our children are important. I may only have one, but I look at my neighbor who has a 3-year-old, and she already said, I'm sending him to private.
Would anyone else like to address the Board of Education?
Good evening. I'm a 6th grader at MSP, and I have already recognized some of the flaws in the school. Some of the council members did not let Mr. LePage make the changes that would have helped the school get better. He is a very nice man and will be missed by many people. Next time they put down a project like this for the school, the people of Plainville should get a chance to vote before driving out another member of the board. I hope when they hire a new superintendent, it'll be someone just as nice and kind as Mr. LePage. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else wish to address the Plainville Board of Education?
Hi, I'm Anka Behrens-Cook. I think most people here by now know I do not like to speak in public, but I can't let this go as president of the MSP, PTC, and just a resident of Plainville. I am here to urge you not to waste more time and money to do a survey to find out what we already know, that it's not possible to close and consolidate our Plainville schools. And why would we even want to? Felicia Mandeville had some great points just now, all those facts that I don't have. But it would be a horrible decision for our students, teachers, staff, and our town. It's so sad to me, as you can probably tell from my voice, that we're even here talking about this. Although it was great to see all the awards tonight and all the recognition for those amazing students, I'm actually angry that I'm once again missing my son's baseball game in order to come here to find out whether or not our elected representatives are doing the right thing. Our town council has proven to be beyond disappointing in not listening to what the community is asking of them, which is to be given the right to vote on Renovate Like New for MSP. I'm hoping that you, who have been voted in to do what's best for our students, will not make that same mistake. Parents, educators, and students have been attending meetings like this one, telling everyone exactly what they want, but the town council isn't listening. Shame on them. The Plainville community should be allowed to vote on what happens to the Plainville community schools. We don't need a study. What we need is Renovate Like New for MSP, to provide a safe, comfortable environment for our students, teachers, and staff to be motivated and productive, and for our town, so we can receive the $36 million in grant reimbursement for the project and not pay for the renovations piecemeal. Prices are not going to come down, and we are running out of time to allow Superintendent LePage to apply for the Renovate Like New grant. We still have a superintendent who is doing an amazing job and always has the best interests for our students in mind. But the lack of support from some of this board and the town council has definitely contributed to him resigning. Another reason why I'm mad. This is gonna hurt Plainville in so many ways. Let's not make this even worse by moving on with a pointless study. Mr. LePage, who was chosen to lead the school system, has done the research with his team on what is needed. We need to back him up for once and move forward with a vote to Renovate Like New while we still can. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else wish to address the Plainville Board of Education?
Hi, I'm Lily Fantazzi, 10 Tyler Farms Road. So I don't have any prepared remarks. We moved to Plainville 10 years ago, and we were looking at Southington and Berlin, and we chose Plainville because of the small community it is and because it invests in its children. Seriously, we also live right around the corner from the middle school, so it's such a pleasure walking to the school, to Tofflon, to the middle school. And it's really sad because my son is very good in school, performs really well, but he's like, Mom, there's spots on the ceiling and I don't feel good. And how can we not invest in our children? They're our future. If this should pass and schools consolidate, people like me will move out, our families will move out, and it's really a decision that I think begins with our kids. So hopefully we can put it into a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else wish to address the Plainville Board of Education?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zachary Santini. I'm a former PHS graduate. Most of you probably know my grandmother, Betty Bocas. When I look at this situation going on, whether it's a thing of money or just the town council not agreeing and not willing to put it through to referendum, something that I noticed is that field project that my grandmother helped start, whether it was a money problem or not, she was out there busting her behind every day trying to get these kids something that they know they deserve. And honestly, I'm kind of ashamed that I can see that they're getting this renovation denied constantly. The building is in the same condition when I used to go there. That is 10 plus years ago. That is sad, realistically. And these kids are the future. They deserve the best. I work in the technology department now. We try to provide them the best every day so they can continue to learn and at least have some type of bright future with their technology. But I don't understand how these kids can be learning in these classrooms. And I hope that you guys work just as hard as my grandma once did to provide these kids with the education they deserve.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to address the Plainville Board of Education? Would anybody else like to address the Plainville Board of Education? And finally, does anyone wish to address the Plainville Board of Education? We're going to move on to the council liaisons report. Mrs. Blazy, if you have anything for us tonight. Okay.
Good evening, everybody, and congratulations. Most of the families and students have left that were recognized for their achievements tonight, but I extend my congratulations. Those are honors that are hard fought. I'm sure those children had done well from kindergarten right through the end of their entire career here in Plainville. So congratulations to all of the students and, of course, their support system of teachers, mentors, and family members. Everybody deserves a round of applause for that. I have a few notes from our May 1st Town Council meeting I'll share with you. We had, from the town manager, spoken about holding a work session to explore the development of an RFP for an outside consultant to look at a third option regarding the middle school of Plainville. The question on the authority who can close a school was also raised, and whether it's a board decision or a town council decision. The board superintendent sought a legal opinion from their counsel, Tom Mooney, who found he had a conflict of interest with the town. His partner in the same law firm had done some legal work for the town, not education related, but he was being cautious in regard to if he could proceed as their legal advisor. Once the council realized there wasn't really a conflict of interest at all in terms of the fact that they both do different things, the council did waive that consideration, and I assume Mr. Mooney provided an opinion for the board. We are also talking about the Tommaso Nature Park Farmington Canal Heritage Trail. At the last meeting, we had discussed some renovations to the trail that ran inside the park fence using the existing pedestrian bridge and established path. Design concepts for the separation between the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail and the Tommaso Nature Park are being laid out with proposals around access points in the park, fencing, and landscaping. Certain types of fencing would not be allowed because it would restrict the movement of wildlife. That's a regulatory issue, and thus a split rail fence and landscaping are probably going to be the course to take. Specific attention is focused on the impact the trail will have on the turtle breeding habitats or turtle beds. In working with Mark DeVoe and Art Marino, it is believed that we have come up with a reasonable solution to lower the impact on the turtles' breeding habits. As part of the effort to reduce the impact of the turtles, the town will prepare and submit an application for the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission to request a ruling on establishing 2 new turtle beds within Tomaso Nature Park as a permitted and non-regulated use. These things, as you start to get into different habitats, whether you're building a home or you're building anything else, all of these things in terms of wildlife must be taken into consideration, and they are very, very closely looked at. So we are going to continue to look at what we can do to take care of that. There will be a work session on the north-south alignment recommended by the Town Council for May 15th, 2023, in order to review the timeline and status of all 3 phases of the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail. This is a long-term project that is going to be years and years before it is completed, but there's a lot that has to happen in the meanwhile, so we're going to get some updates. Regarding our airport, the Aviation Commission has been working on 3 important capital projects, AWAS and POPI. These are segmented circle and wind cone installation, a fencing project, and small roof replacement for the administration office. The Automated Weather Observing System, which is known as AWAS, is a system that collects and reports data about airport weather conditions and automatically, continuously provides it in real time. This is an important aspect for pilots that are going to be flying in and out of that airport. The Precision Approach Path Indicator, which is acronymed POPI. This project is a set of lights that are positioned beside a runway, which provide pilots with a visual indicator of the aircraft's position relative to the correct glide path for the runway. Another improvement that is long since needed down at the airport. The segmented circle and wind cone are visual indicators that provide traffic pattern information to pilots at airports without a control tower. We do not have a control tower at Robertson Airport. All these components are expected to be completed by the end of June. There's also a fence project in the work, which will replace the existing perimeter fence line facing away from the runway towards Johnson Avenue. The fence bid was opened on Wednesday, April 26th, and the project will probably start in the fall, pending on FAA review. Because we are a local small airport, the FAA also has a great deal to say over what we can do there. The FAA provides enormous amount of funding when we have to do any large capital improvements down there. So the FAA is important to us, and we have to report to them on anything that we're doing out there to make sure we're doing things within the guidelines of the FAA. There is also going to be a living tribute for Bill O'Leary, who was the former owner of the airport, and a new fire pit, which will be placed sometime early summer. We still have a big project that the town is undertaking. It's entitled the Honor Heights Sewer Extension Project. We have completed the bid process, and we're going forward to get that installation done, hopefully this paving season. The town attorney's office is assisting in reviewing easements, which have to, of course, anytime you go into somebody's property, an easement has to be granted. There are some folks that want things moved from a lateral from one side of their property to the other. They don't want it to go up the middle of their driveway. So the engineering firm is working with everybody involved that would like to have their lateral moved and replaced to another location. Also, there is a Camp Street development project which is ongoing. The developer is proposing 74 senior citizen apartments in Bristol with property access and traffic entering and exiting via Camp Street in Plainville near Overlook Drive. The public has an opportunity to share concerns about traffic and ask questions at the Bristol Zoning Commission in the Bristol Board of Education Auditorium, 129 Church Street on Monday, May 8th at 7 p.m. In order to inform the public, we have been putting out information on the town's Facebook page with links to the Hartford Current article and a draft of the plan that's out there. the reason the town is so interested in this is we have to approve a curb cut, even though part of that road is in Bristol, part of that road is in Plainville. There's going to be increased traffic throughout that whole area, and we are now working with an attorney to talk about the project. It's going to be impactful to Plainville residents as well as Bristol. So we're trying to do our best to alleviate any concerns that may be out there once this development is put through, because it could be a very impactful traffic situation for all those streets in that neighborhood. That concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions if the board has any. I'd also like to close with the council is working with the superintendent to have a work session to discuss the middle school project and all aspects of that. I'm not sure that that date has been firmed up, but we are working on that to have a joint work session with the board and the town council that will be upcoming, hopefully at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is our superintendent's report.
Hi, Bill. Thank you. Mr. Ross, do you have my report? Thank you very much. I'll go through this as quickly as I can. And the good news is I'm the only reporter of the night. Sometimes we have principals and other district leaders presenting on the status of a number of things. So first I'd like to just highlight just some of the things for the report include district highlights. You heard about a couple, so I'll go quickly on those. But also some things that you may not be aware of that I'd like to share. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for getting out to vote. It was one of the stronger turnouts that I can remember since I've been here. You know, we always hope for more people to come out and cast their vote in all the elections and have their voice heard. But still, it was, you know, I believe it was over an 80% pass margin, and some people voted no because it was too low. But on the town side and the board side, it was a strong showing of support for the budgets that were really developed through a lot of hard work and scrutiny and consideration of all the impacts of taxpayers' dollars. So I want to thank everyone for that, and I know great things will still be to come in the future next year, thanks to the vote passing. So thank you very much. I wanted to really quickly, the Senior Citizen Prom has been something that I've been involved in since I was principal many years ago. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way for the kids. I know I wrote a lot about it in my newsletter, so I'll give you the real short version. But just to see like Spencer and Bella, who were here earlier, and the other student leaders who stepped up, and the student council, and just their kindness to our, some of the people who attend the Senior Citizen Prom are in their 90s, and they're just amazing. The level of energy, they more than I do, I think. But I got some you saw one with me and Lena, and she lives over near Norton Park. I'm supposed to deliver some pictures, I guess this week from the prom, but I just wanted to thank everyone who's involved and who stepped up and helped out with the prom. The kids, I think we had 30 or 35 students helping out, just so professional, and just really, I was proud of them. So I just wanted to highlight that. It's a great event, and it really, bridges the, generational divides, and everybody just wants to have a good time. So it's fun to see the senior citizens out there partying and dancing the night away, and having a great meal. So we have, as you know, mental health is a crisis level in everywhere, and our schools are no different. So, and for parents, and I have 3 children of my own, and we've been through all kinds of things, and it's a difficult time for everybody. So, Mental Health Awareness Month is May. The Plainville Coalition for Positive Youth Development and Connecticut Mental Health Association have partnered along with district staff from the Plainville schools to host a mental health forum on May 16th. That's going to be hosted here in the Learning Commons, which was the former library, but the Learning Commons. And, we're hoping that'll accommodate everyone. We've had an online survey that went out and sign up. And there's also virtual opportunity to attend if you can't be here in person. It will be recorded as well and put as on the website and an easy to find location with a number of other mental health resources. So it's just to find out more information about specific supports you can access for your family, loved ones, yourself, just a way to help with the challenges that we're facing in our world at this time. And there's going to be an ongoing series that'll continue next fall as well. So Lynn Davis is here. She's half of the Plainville Coalition leadership. So thank you, Lynn, and Sneha, and LaRue, and everybody else who's involved from the, Dave Lewandowski and the entire group. So thank you very much, and I hope you can attend. I just wanted to acknowledge, it seems like there's a day for everyone. I don't think there's a superintendent's day. I sure hope there isn't. But there's principals. I think there was principal day last. I know the principals were getting really thoughtful videos and things like that and gifts, and it's I'm confused because my wife's a teacher and she came home all last week with different gifts and they did this today and that day, and I thought it was last week, but everybody's telling me it's this week. So it's one of these 2 weeks, and it's been very exciting. So, regardless of the actual official week, I think Joan told me it's this week, and I think it was Teacher Appreciation Day last Tuesday, but it's this week. But regardless, we appreciate all of our staff, our teachers, our paraeducators, everyone in the staff, the administrators, the principals who work together as a team and really do great things for kids. Plainville's a special district. That's not going to change. It won't change when I'm gone. It won't change. I know this board will be supportive of doing what's right for the district, and they have been. I know there's been, I'm kind of weaving in a personal message here, but with my announcement, there's been quite a bit of, concern, and, of course, I alluded to some things that less pleasantries of the position that are, I think, normal in a lot of towns, but, I've felt supported by the board. We've had our differences. We worked through those. Regardless of the ups and downs, working with the councils, we have our challenges at times, but we've been able to pass our budgets for the last 4 years. I've been superintendent, so I'm grateful for that, and we'll continue to work through challenges. But there's a number of reasons why I've chosen this decision, but I won't go into that now. That's not what this report's about, but I just wanted to mention that, I have a good working relationship with members of this town, and there's definitely differences that we have to work through, but I thought it was only fair to say that. There's a number of reasons involved. So we're going to go on to the next slide. We'll be doing a number of, I'm going to be doing ice cream sundae socials for all the staff in late May and June. I've notified the staff on that. So for the appreciation, we appreciate everybody. Cafeteria workers, it was cafeteria, what was it, Superhero Day on Friday? Cafeteria superhero? Mr. Ellerstein, you had a cape on, didn't you? You were going around to the different schools. Mr. Ellerstein oversees the cafeteria services. Speaking of cafeteria, Mr. Ellerstein, you want to take it for this piece? It's just kind of an informational segue about meals and prices. And
so to give you a heads up, there's a lot up in the air about school meals and whether the legislature passes school meals for all next year. Regardless, we are going to have to increase our meal prices. If there are paid meals in Plainville, we're going to have to increase our meal prices. We haven't done so in a long time, and we're behind what it takes to break even and keep the operation sustaining. We're behind what other districts charge for meals. And so today we just want to give you a heads up. In June, we'll be proposing to you. We wouldn't do an outrageous amount all at once. We would probably phase it in. And so that's just to give you a heads up. And I just want to take the opportunity too to really give a shout out to Mr. LePage and Ashley Carl, our food service director, for taking a leadership role on the state level toward free meals for all and really shining some light on the issue and what it means beyond financial. There can be stigma involved, and Steve and Ashley have done a terrific job, plus a number of students as well. Having a great experience of going to the Capitol building and advocating their minds. But it's if regardless of what happens with school meals for all, Steve and Ashley and a number of the kids have really done a great job with promoting the issue.
And Sam has too from behind the scenes. He just doesn't pat himself on the back. So thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So we'll make some more decisive announcements in June once we know what the state budget looks like in more detail. The next slide. So I know I've talked about the middle school a lot. It's obviously the hot topic of the last, well, since we were preparing the application last year, and just trying to figure out where to go from here, because there's really no option to do nothing. So we want to keep our schools in the best possible shape we can. We understand there's challenges and there's differences in opinions and different avenues that different parties want to consider. So I just want to give a recap and share some new information that is all part of the consideration. And just to start, I would say that it was the unanimous approval of the Board of Education last June 6th, 2022, to approve the Renovate Like New application, which obviously would mean they had no intention or thoughts of closing the school. The plan from the Capital Project Building Committee was unanimously to approve the renovation application. The Board of Education unanimously approved it as well. It went to the council and it was defeated. As you know, and I'm not going to rehash but here we are, and we're trying to figure out the path forward. There have been a number of, really 3 options considered. First option, full Renovate Like New application. The time is running really short on that window because we need. I'll share it in my presentation. I'm kind of telling you everything before I show it to you. But the second option would be a maintenance plan option that. I've tried to explain with the help of my team that it would be a less efficient in the long run option that would cost about $5 million more in not so long term to do about 75% of the work that a full renovation like new. It would cost actually $5 million more. So it's in the short term it seems more attractive, and you can get some kind of big things done with a little bit of state grant. But then once those grants are done, it's all in the town's funding. And then the third option that was, it was raised informally, and then it was discussed at the middle school forum that 6 of the council members were kind enough to attend. It was a pretty intense evening, but it was raised the idea of closing the middle school. So since that time, there's been a lot of concern and anxiety around that idea about the potential of doing a study, looking at school use, school space utilization study, looking at the 5 schools, determining if there's a possibility of consolidating. It was mentioned specifically closing middle school. So I just want to go through what we looked at, and so that everybody, and it was added to the agenda as basically to confirm, what was already decided by the board, that they support the Renovation Like New application. So, the board's not going to vote. I don't believe they would vote. It was a possibility to vote on basically the direction they'd like to go from this point forward, and just determining if anything has changed in their perspective, which I believe it probably hasn't, but I'd like to share what I have, and then we'll go from there, and the board can decide to vote or not based on that. So this is just an outline of what I'll go over. As Councilwoman Puglisi said, Kevin, if you could go to the next slide. Just regarding the responsibilities and authority, it came up from at least one of the council members asking, well, who has the authority to close a school or consolidate schools? It was raised by members of the board, and I believe it was Becky, I believe you mentioned, or you had asked about getting a legal opinion from Tom Mooney. So I did seek Tom Mooney's, if you don't know Tom Mooney, I think I have all 9 of his law book editions. He wrote this Connecticut law book on education. It's about this thick. I usually bring it in when I read to classes, and I start with that. I said, all right, I brought one of my favorites. If any of you kids were subject to my poor humor, my dad jokes, I always bring that out as the example because there's a lot of legal minutia, but he wrote the book. So, and he's a brilliant mind, so we got Tom, I had a conversation with Tom Mooney. He explained the conflict of interest because Shipman and Goodwin also works with the town on the police pension, I believe it is. So it's not Tom Mooney, it's another attorney from their group. So we had to go through the process of getting a waiver, which the council did approve to waive that conflict of interest at the last meeting, as Ms. Puglisi shared. But all things said and done, we had gotten an opinion from CABE, Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, prior to that, but we wanted to confirm with Tom Mooney, who's the authority on school law. And you can see the short answer up there, which I never make anything short, but basically Whether to continue to operate middle school is a decision vested by statute solely in the Board of Education because property dedicated to the use for school purposes is under the jurisdiction of the Board of Education. The Town Council retains significant authority through the budget process, and the Board of Education may not apply for a school building project grant without the approval of the Town Council, which I understand is the legislative body in the town, which is in Plainville. However, the Town Council does not have control over the middle school such that it could close the middle school over the objection of the Board of Education. So ultimately, the authority for that decision lies with the Board of Education. So this came about because of discussions about that potential and a study. So we just wanted to make sure that, you know, the legal understanding of that was clear. And again, as I said, you can read at the bottom. I won't read this whole slide to you, but the board did unanimously approve of pursuing a Renovate Like New application last June. Go to the next slide, Kevin. Just historically, I know Mr. White and Mrs. Tyrell and other board members have talked about the historical planning for the renovation of all of our schools. The middle school is the last in that 5-school long-range planning process. There was a lot of work done there. These are pictures of publications that happened that were created back in 2003, 2000, and 2004, guided by hired professionals that did a study. And as you can see there, just bullet points summarizing, there was community consensus to maintain the current configuration of schools for the foreseeable future, the 5 schools, 3 elementary, middle school, high school. We've been on the path toward should be AMSP Renovate Like New project for many years. This plan was communicated to and supported by the state several years ago when I visited there with Robert Lee, and we set out a plan for for applying for the renovation. And then we've deferred capital investments into the building. As you know, I've said this a number of times, and I feel like a broken record, but I think it's important to restate some things. We've patched and repaired major building systems that are past their expected life. So we're in a position where, we have to do something. Had we not deferred the maintenance, we would be in a position to delay the project, but that's not the case because we've delayed a lot of the maintenance, the big maintenance replacements and repairs. Next slide, Kevin. Just looking at building space, and I could see why on the surface you might look at the size of Linden being an oversized elementary school, and just taking it purely by the numbers. You could say, well, it's kind of close to the middle school, and when you look at just the square footage overall of the entire facility. There's a lot on this slide, but some of the things that are important to note are, the varying sizes of the classrooms and of the equipment, of the facilities, the bathrooms for the little guys versus the middle schools. 46% greater size allotment for middle school students than elementary students in the Connecticut space standards when they're designing schools, and it's another 12% on top of that for high school. So the different age levels and different space needs in order to meet the instructional programs are very different at the elementary and the middle school level. You have all the STEM labs, you have the MSPN news, you have the culinary shop, the wood shop, and the robotics labs, and all those, the auditorium, all those things at the middle school. So, all these specialized areas. And if you look at the bottom there where that blue arrow is pointing that are particular to secondary, you also have 6 science labs, in the specific needs of science labs, the counseling, the tech shops, technology shops, the robotics lab, culinary. So those are some of the ones I mentioned. So a lot of very different uses of that space and different needs for the size of the kids. The middle school has 546 kids, and right now Linden has 390. So just looking at the next slide of building utilization, there are no empty classrooms in the district. Each school is different, in large part designed with consideration to how it would be used. The building space is used efficiently and effectively. While we currently are short on space in some important areas, we continually adjust offices and other spaces to accommodate the changing needs. So there's some information below that's prepared by the principals for tonight's meeting. Just give me some inside. I'm there in the schools a lot, but they know their buildings better than anybody. So at Linden, from Principal Wallowitz, there are no unused rooms. Some offices were recently relocated to make space. I moved the special education leadership team over to the high school to make space for program needs at Linden over the summer. The building houses the PFRN, Plainville Family Resource Network, which is a robust and terrific program run by Donna Cavallero. Also some adult ed programming. It accommodates additional resources for children with more significant special needs through two major specialized programs that require significant space. If we didn't have these programs, we would have to outplace more students at a significant cost to the district. So there are very unique, it's hard to look at, well, it's easy to look at a building just on square footage, but there are very unique uses of those spaces that it's important everybody understands. Top line, every classroom's in use, according to Principal Adorado. There's a shortage of rooms. Meetings are often held in the hallway. There's a little office down the hallway from the office. Space is a limiting factor in the location of certain programs at Linden that they have that are noted at Linden above there. They can't have the same kinds of programs because of the space. Wheeler, there's a shortage of rooms. As with Tafalon, space is a limiting factor in the location of certain programs, such as those I talked about for Linden. So the takeaway, Linden has unique uses that are different from the other buildings, which explains the additional square footage. Due to space limitations, Tafalon and Wheeler cannot accommodate those type of unique needs. Next slide is just, I wanted to show the district enrollment, and there was discussion about enrollment dropping. Back about 20 years ago, I think it was the first year of an enrollment, when we looked at enrollment, it was over 2,600. So over about 20 years, it's dropped by about 300 students. But as someone said, I think one of the citizen comments, if you drop 100 students, it just doesn't factor that you could just reduce a school, or even 300 students. So right now we've held really steady around 2,300 for the last few years. There hasn't been any dip. If anything, it's been going up, and there's some new developments in town. We do have quite a bit of transiency. So that bottom chart there shows you kind of the ins and outs of the students here. So a lot of times we'll have students move to town, but then they will leave, which makes it really difficult because you don't always get students in preschool and have them through their graduation, so you're kind of inheriting whatever they learn somewhere else, and you're trying to help them acclimate to Plainville and to the best school district. And then sometimes they do tend to they do leave. So if you look at enrollments, and granted this includes preschool and kindergarten for first time enrollments, and then withdrawals. But if you look at each of the different schools, so since from September through April, just this year, we've had 305 students enrolled, including preschool and kindergarten, and then we disenrolled 73 students, all while overall enrollment has remained steady. So it just shows you the ebbs and flows of enrollment, but we've stayed around 3,200 throughout. We're at 2,302. So, even like the high school, it probably seems strange, but we've had 54 students enroll in the high school this year. 23 have disenrolled. 53 new students at Wheeler, 15 have withdrawn. So those include the young ones. So at the elementary school, it's not as surprising, but middle school and high school, it's a little more telling. All right, so next slide, enrollment projection. This was when the Wheeler project was being prepared. You had to have an updated enrollment projection in order to submit the application. The Board of Education used to use Dr. Peter Prouda. He's kind of the name and the go-to name for these types of studies for enrollment and projections. So this is just taken from that period of time when they were trying to apply for the renovation at Wheeler. There wouldn't have been enough time in order to submit the application. So you can see in the bold there, it would have held up the process. So the projection was done internally in order not to hold up Wheeler construction. So at this time, we would recommend a more current study be prepared. You can see the price of the study. So I know the district had done it internally, and actually the work that Sam Adlerstein has done with projections has been actually more true to accurate than the ones that were done by Peter Prouda. So Sam, you've done a nice job on that. Thank you. Good job. And but we could use an outside person to keep it completely impartial and make sure that we're having the exact numbers that we need. So just really quickly, looking at I think everyone was aware of the full Renovate Like New was, I think, $58.9 million total cost. And then depending on, there are a number of factors that go into the reimbursement rate. Student population is the biggest factor. So Plainville has a really strong reimbursement rate of 65.7%, I believe, yeah, 65.7. Oh, yeah, Kevin, could you go to the next? Thought you were reading my mind. All right. This is just a $10 million project that was proposed as an alternative to the renovation earlier in the fall, and I sent a lot of information about this in my newsletter, so if you read that, you know, it's in my last newsletter. But the renovation would reimburse, after the building being oversized for the student population and us not getting the space waiver we applied for twice last year, we would net about 60.4, I think it was 60.45 cents on a dollar for reimbursable costs on the middle school project. So just over 6 cents on every dime, or 60 cents on every dollar. There is a bonus at the end based on open choice participation that for the percent of students who you have in that school at the time the project is accepted by the Board of Education. There's a bonus at the end that would tack on an additional percent that could likely get us back up to about 65%. So that's the Renovate Like New. This is the $10 million project or thereabouts. It actually ended up being about 10.9 or 10.948. We're looking to do some of the most critical items that are you know, past their life that really needed to be done. I did have a meeting with the state over the phone with the town manager, Mike Paulus, and we met with 3 individuals from the State Department of Administrative Services. You can see the costs in parentheses in that state funding. Those are the grants that we would qualify for. Under the underground storage tank removal, there's an oil tank that has to be removed by, I can't remember the deadline on that, but it has to be removed. Replacing the elevator, doing the roof. Those were the 3 non-priority projects we could apply for in the first 10 days of any month. The secure vestibule would be something we'd have to apply for through a priority project. That'd have to be in by the same kind of timeline as a Renovate Like New. So to do a secure vestibule would be a different possibility, but a different process. All things considered, we could get about $14,600,000 worth of work done for $10,948. But at that point, all the grant funding would be used up. Next slide. And Sam, feel free to jump in any time because I'm running out of breath. But I'll keep going. The MSP pressing needs compared to the 10.9 million dollars. When you looked at what I mentioned before with the total cost of the project and getting some of the things done as soon as possible that needed to be done, and getting some things could be delayed a bit in the next 5 to 10 years, perhaps. You know, when you add those up, it accounts for a significant amount of money more than a renovation like new would cost. So 30 on the left-hand side there, 34.2 million to address all the end-of-life building issues, or 14.8 would address only what could be accomplished with the 10 to 11 million dollars local funding. Sam, I'm probably not explaining this very well, but if you want to, does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
We asked our internal professionals, Mike Smith, who's our Director of Facilities, and Steve Bussell, who's former Director of Facilities, been around for a long time, to go through the detailed cost estimate. 210 lines, it went through line by line, and they categorized it, the stuff that you would need to do right away, regardless of how you do it, or as soon as possible. What could be delayed, and then the things that really wouldn't make sense to do unless you were doing a Renovate Like New project. And then Steve did a really nice job of explaining the conclusion. It would cost more to do a piecemeal project or a maintenance project because of the state funding than it would to do a Renovate Like New project.
And it would achieve about 73.2% of the overall Renovate Like New project instead of 100%, and it would cost more because you wouldn't do some of the things in a Renovate Like New. You would only do if it's a Renovate Like New. They're more surface, you know, beautification, making the building look new and feel new, but they're not absolutely essential. But they're things that you definitely include in a Renovate Like New because they're covered
And the difference would be, at the end of the maintenance plan, you would have an old building that it would still look and feel like the existing middle school, yet be renovated, compared to a renovate like new project, and we know what those look like. We've done them in the past.
So the next slide just summarizes what I just said a little bit. So when you look at the maintenance plan, 29.264 million to get, 73-ish% of the work for the whole project done, compared to, based on the last price cost estimate, we'd have to get a new cost estimate for renovation, but it would be 24,399,000. So it's about $5 million difference to do the piecemeal approach over time. So this slide just had some misconception, things that were raised as, there wasn't enough time to decide, and, and now we have time to, there's a perception about delaying, but, there's a lot of major, these are things I've already said, so I won't repeat all this. Worst time to bring a project forward because of cost escalation in the economy. Those costs really never go down. Everyone we've talked to said it's never going to go down. So these are all, I can make this available for anyone that wants to see it, but and then there was something said about the board rejecting offers to fix the roof and other projects, but that wasn't accurate. As I shared earlier, there are recommendations for a smaller project, but we're still in the process of determining with the council determining which project makes the most sense, because they have the ultimate decision in which way we go. So we never said we don't want to do. We need to get the roof done. Just, we don't want barrels all around the hallways and in the gym collecting water every rainstorm. So the gym has to get done, and there's a number of projects that have to get done. So one way or another, there's a number of big projects that need to get done. Kevin, next slide, please. So I tried to share as much as I can about the whole big picture on the middle school, and to be as accurate and fair about, who has authority and whose decision, and, what the options are. I've tried to do that throughout the last year since the project failed to go to the application didn't get, wasn't approved. So just trying to go forward in the best way that we can for the middle school, so we have beautiful, safe, healthy district, and we want to make sure that the middle school is the same way as our other 4 schools. So really that's what I wanted to share tonight in my presentation. Just an overview. I know we do have the 15th at 6 o'clock was what was proposed, and I told Mr. Paulus that looks like it should work for, I believe, most of the board. So hopefully we can make that work and go through the options with the council and hopefully determine which way things will go pretty quickly. And last slide from me. So as I had said, it's up to the board, but my motion would be to just request that you direct me to convey that the board has reviewed the middle school situation, given the likelihood of a consolidation or reconfiguration of schools, to affirm its earlier decision to proceed to an application with the state for the middle school renovation like new project, as you had approved last June, in an MSP renovate like new project referendum. With an application, there has to be a referendum for the voters. So that would be my request or recommendation. It's up to the board to decide. That's why it's a possible vote, and that's really all that was about. There's some next steps here. The joint meeting that I mentioned that the board was invited to. Council decision, renovate like new versus other options, update the renovate like new application, and it would have to be a new cost estimate as well. As I mentioned in my report tonight, doing an enrollment study, we could secure Peter Prouda to do an enrollment study and make sure we're still accurate in our projections, and then consider additional community workshops or re-involvement of the Capital Project Building Committee. We haven't met with them in a while because we don't have a project to move forward at this time. And then just some other considerations on the right about delaying, increased costs, increase the risk of equipment failure. The maintenance plan would cost more in the long run, and really that's all I have. That concludes my report, Madam Chair. Any questions or clarifications that I can provide?
I have a quick question. Can you please clarify what the difference is between an enrollment study and a feasibility study?
Yes, an enrollment study would just give us an enrollment projection for the next, is it 10 years? I think they do a 10-year projection for enrollment based on past trends, current, and what they project, you know, based on live births and a number of other considerations. In the feasibility, I'm sorry, what was the?
I just don't know if it was the same thing or
No,
if they're different
so
things.
the other study would be looking at kind of what I showed you tonight with square footage, use of the buildings, needs for our students, specialized programs, and all those considerations around basically what I was sharing tonight. You know, and what I hope I conveyed and have conveyed since I heard this idea posed is that we have 546 middle school students. That number is staying pretty static, consistent. Linden currently has 390 elementary students. There is no configuration that I'm aware of from my 29 years in education and working with schools that would fit all of the students into 4 buildings and do the great things Plainville does for kids in those 4 buildings, or even if it would be safe or possible to do that. Because even if by some addition or whatever changes would have to be made to Linden, you'd have to take 390 students and put them into existing elementary schools that are already full. I mean, you could increase class sizes to a degree. There aren't any extra spare classrooms sitting around that we could just fill in with, you know, just move classrooms over. So I just don't know of any, I just don't know of any situation where it would be even remotely possible. So, you know, I was just trying to be very upfront about that because I know the district really well. Our principals know the district really well. We do have reasonable class sizes for the most part, and it's something that I know our town appreciates, our parents appreciate, and our kids appreciate. We have you know, working on a lot of learning needs, and you can't do that in a class of 30 kids. You know, I don't think that's what we aspire to. I'm always going to recommend what I think is educationally best for the kids and for the staff who work here. So that'll be my, you know, that's my charge, and that'll be what I do until my very last day in education. And I understand there's other considerations, and I don't know why I'm still talking, but I hope I answered that question about, you know, kind of a consolidation or closure feasibility study versus an enrollment study, just to get the latest and most accurate enrollment projections for 10 years. Thanks, Mr. Buchanan.
Any other questions?
Yes, Ms. Clark.
I was just wondering, at what point would it be healthy for a school district to do a feasibility study? I mean, at any point, is it good to do a feasibility study? I mean, have you seen districts do them like every 5 years, every 10 years? I mean, they don't just do them to close schools, correct?
Right, correct. And depending on, you know, I talked to my colleague in Bristol, and they have far more schools there, and they had different considerations, and, you know, some, you know, more dramatically shrinking populations and reconfiguring the grade configurations of some schools. So they've done some moves like that. They've also done a number of, you know, renovation, like new applications, you know, because they're available, and, you know, they're taking advantage of those opportunities. But back to your question, if you have a really significant projection for a very significant decrease in population where you can't sustain the schools that you have with the population that you have, then it would make sense to say, you know, let's look at this. And it did happen back in, you know, the one I shared, 2003, 2004, and really looking at what the district would, you know, wants for this district. I know it was 20 years ago, but currently, you know, unless there was a plan to put additions on, you know, maybe 3 of the schools to accommodate, you know, increasing the population at those schools, and or restructuring things in a certain way, you know, but I just don't see it being the right time to do a feasibility study for Plainville, but yeah.
I have one more question. Would a feasibility study actually show that either way, I mean, possibly that a renovate like new is the better option? I mean, it's not, a feasibility study isn't necessarily something that's horrible. It could actually result in either thing, correct?
Well, they wouldn't, the outcome of a study wouldn't be to recommend renovating the middle school. It would just be, it would be not to close likely. I don't see any other way. They would say closing the middle school would make sense, but it would either be to close or consolidate schools or not do so. They wouldn't recommend, well, you should renovate the middle school, because that's really a separate item for the council to determine whether they want to approve that application. But yeah, I think I know what you mean. I don't know what the study would show. I mean, maybe I'm ignorant to some blind spot, but just looking at the district so closely for all these years, I don't see the space or the feasibility. As an expert in education, knowing this district really well, that would make any sense to close a school. I know it was talked about because Wheeler is the smallest elementary school, and it was discussed years ago before renovating Wheeler. You know, could we close it and consolidate it to the other elementary schools? And that plan was definitely not approved by. I remember people getting pretty upset about that, the notion of that, and that was the smallest school. So to do it with, you know, the second largest school would be. I just don't. Okay.
So I just, you know, just the reason that we're here, and this isn't really a question, but it's, you know, the reason we're here is because we've talked about this before, you know, we're moving forward. We've been doing like new renovations, all these schools. We have, you know, a plan for the middle school. We've been going to the council year after year, delaying, you know, some of the big maintenance items, knowing that the time is going to come for the middle school to be, you know, qualify for like new renovation. And we get there and we find that, and we know the price went up and there was sticker shock and whatnot. However, at the end of the day, I think the majority of people still believe that was the best way to go, because it's the most cost-effective way to go, based on what you just told us. So, you know, that's difficult enough, and we're on a timeline, but then to have it just thrown out there, I mean, I don't know if, you know, the council member who just sat there in a meeting of the public and said, well, to be quite honest, we want to consider closing the middle school. I don't know if that person understands what that does to a community. It's not something that you do. It's not something that you just say. First of all, it's not within the purview of one person to ever say something like that. And second of all, you know, it's not even doable on top of things. So, you know, to just come out and say that has brought us to a point where everybody is a lot more contentious. It's really unfortunate. And what's happening in the meantime is we're just spinning our wheels and we're wasting time, and we have another deadline that we are very likely not going to make for another potential vote for like new renovation, because we're spending all this time looking at this. Never was the superintendent asked to come in and say, can you tell us, you know, what are your thoughts? Could you guys consolidate schools? Is that something that you would do? Why? And if so, why not? And this information that we just received this evening, which I know we've talked about before, but if that information was presented, I don't see why anybody would want to pursue this. It doesn't make sense to me. But again, we're back to spinning our wheels, waiting till May 15th to have a meeting. And I don't know, time, maybe I do have a question in all this. So time is limited and the deadline is coming. Do we have a sense of like, what's our drop dead, you know, last minute that we could have enough time to prepare to apply for the application?
I don't know if we have enough time. The cost estimate, there are a lot of renovations being being done in a lot of communities, and the number of cost estimators out there are limited. So when I called 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago, and asked what the lead time on an updated cost estimation would be, there were concerns about them having enough time to get it done. With all that time to spare, we can do make our best effort to get the cost estimation done. We could, but in order to set a referendum date, you have to have an amount that you're looking to include in a renovation project. So you need a number. You need an accurate number. So we can't use last year's dollars in order to submit the application and set a referendum date. So, you raise. That's been my sense of urgency and my concern is that the clock has been ticking and ticking, and to know a district really well and to feel like the considerations around option 3 seem to me to be a very big waste of time that we don't have. That's the frustration. So I know I talk about the middle school a lot, but it's something I feel is really important. So I don't know if we have enough time. I can try. The problem is the cost estimation would have to be commissioned by the town. The council, last year, the council paid, it was $80 some odd thousand to CSG to prepare the application with us. The application's in pretty good shape. We just have to be updated. The ed specs are the same. We're not changing the design or any of those items. So that's pretty much ready to go. Just update it. But the biggest part is the updating all the costs for those 203 items, those 203 projects that comprise the middle school project. So there may be hope if that's the direction that is decided that we should go in. It has to be approved at a meeting along with the renovation, the referendum date. There's very specific language around that was provided last year. So it just have to happen before June 30th, and we just have to submit it by June 30th. So if it's determined on the 15th that's the direction, or I could start preliminary discussions to find out what the timeline would be if it's even feasible. But ultimately that would have to be paid for by and supported by the town council, because we can't make that decision. The board can't make that decision. And I can't act on the board's behalf unless we know the direction that we're going to go. So that's where we are.
I just wanted to say that in addition to your motion, this is the first time the Board of Ed's really speaking publicly about this, and these are Board of Education issues. So I hope when the motion does come forward as on the agenda, I will be proposing later in the agenda to not only, affirm what we said before, but to have no further study or consideration of school closures on consolidations, affirming with its earlier decision to proceed in an application with the state for an MSP renovation like new renovate like new project referendum. I think as a board, we really need to step up, stand up for our kids, and we should be the first line of advocacy.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
I think it's been made very clear to us tonight that one, by several state statutes, at least more than one, the responsibility for school buildings belongs to the Board of Education. And so if any survey, which I totally believe is totally unnecessary, because it would not be at all possible to close a school and move everything around. That has been clearly demonstrated to us again tonight. I think it would be really ideal if the board tonight would really reaffirm the decision we made in June 2022, that we move forward with a Renovate as New project. I would hope desperately that the council would give us advance notice that they would allow us to move this process forward so that we don't unnecessarily have to spend any money more to update our application. I think it is imperative that we move this application forward because I don't think there's a person really in this room right now who does not believe that that this process has to move forward. So I would really second what Becky has said and Rebecca has said, that I think tonight we should reaffirm the decision we made in June and unanimously move that we move this process forward as quickly as possible.
I just have a procedural question, please. Where in Robert's rules is reaffirming a vote that we have already taken? Thank you.
Is it a possible vote regarding closure of school or consolidation?
So I'll ask a follow-up question. So you want us to restate what we've already stated? It's to understand, we voted, the Board of Education voted on June 6th, I believe it was, of 2022, to send to the town council our recommendation in supporting our superintendent and his team's recommendation to send this to Renovate Like New. I guess I would ask a follow-up question would be, did something change that I'm unaware of? Where reaffirming, just restating, I'm happy to restate that on June 6th of 2022, we voted to send to the town council our recommendation to renovate the middle school like new. Nothing has changed for the Board of Education, taken by all of our thoughts and opinions here. I would think that would be celebrated. Our opinion hasn't changed. So just procedurally, that's all, just procedurally, we do follow Robert's rules. There's a motion on the table to ask me to reaffirm a vote that was already taken, and that confuses me as to the procedural necessity for us to do that when we have already done our jobs. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I do think it's really important that elected officials state exactly where they stand on things. And unfortunately, I think most of us were made aware of an idea of a middle school being closed at a public forum. And we had no information on that, and we've been silent on that. So I do think we need to take a stance and have a motion that no further study or consideration of school closures or consolidations will be happening with this Board of Education. We have not stated that, and we do have a new Board of Ed member as well, not to put you on the spot, but was not all of us. So we do have an addition, and we should be advocating for our kids, and I don't believe that we as a board have stated, because we haven't been allowed that opportunity, really.
I have a follow-up question. Vote against a vote that we already did a vote, and then if the vote's being amended to add other things, so I'm just.
The motion that was recommended or requested was to direct the superintendent to convey information. So that's what the vote is on, for the superintendent to convey information, regardless of what that information is. And every board operates a little differently. The board that I was a part of for a number of years, the school board that I was a part of, would do that very frequently. We would vote to direct the superintendent to do X, Y, or Z.
So I'm confused by the addition of what.
So we're not directing the superintendent to do X, Y, or Z. You're asking, and I just want to make sure I want to understand. And I'm genuinely trying to gain procedural understanding to determine whether or not this is something. So you're asking us to reaffirm what we've already voted on a year ago. And In addition, you're asking us to preemptively state that we do not support a study. Wait, hold on. Let me just finish this. A study that we have absolutely no say-so whether or not gets done or not. Let me just be clear about that. No, we have a say-so what happens with the impact of that data. We determine, the town council cannot close a school. We've determined that. Only the Board of Education can make these decisions, but we're not the ones going to do the feasibility study. I guess I genuinely want to understand, Rebecca, what you're asking me to make a commitment to when I'm not the one in the position to do the thing.
Yeah, I don't think it should be hard on any of us to make a commitment that we do not support a study, that we are standing up for a renovate like new. We've established that, right? So we don't want schools to close. So why are we going to spend the money on a study for something that unanimously 8 out of 9 board members are, voted on? So I think we need to take a stand publicly and have a clear, concise, unified front on where we're going with this Board of Ed, in this project moving forward.
I'm confident that we did that a year ago when we took a unanimous vote to send it to the town council. I can only speak for myself. My decision has not changed, so I hope that answers your question clearly. As far as what the town council decides to do, we can go around. I don't know any board member here who has not supported our decision last year.
I think a lot's been introduced since the vote was taken and the application was not allowed last year. So I think there's been 3 considerations raised. So I think the way it's worded in that last slide that I shared, just giving all the information, knowing that the council would have to, they could assume that that the board would not be in favor of closing or consolidating a school. They could assume the contrary. So that was the only, based on the information shared tonight, that was the only hope, that it would be a clear and easy decision to say that, to affirm that the board would not be in favor of any consolidation or closure of a school at this time. So that was the only intention. I didn't think it would be this. I didn't think it would be this divisive or.
Yeah, I think it gets this divisive when it gets this politicized, because all this is going to do is make all of us say we are agreeing to something that we know nothing about. That's all hypothetical. Yes, it's true, because there's a feasibility study that might get done. The feasibility study that might get done is something completely out of our control. Completely out of our control. It doesn't mean that we are going to act upon it. In all of this, I'm so sorry you had to miss your child's game, because there's no vote tonight. This is a moot point. It's come up, yes, because we voted and we supported the renovate like new. So I'm sorry you guys got worked up and had to come out tonight, but there was nothing on the table that's going to change anything. Nothing until it comes back to us to vote again. So I'm sorry that there's so much that you thought that we were going to be able to do tonight, and we're not going to vote to close down the school. The school's not up for closure. The school's not going to be voted down. All this is so politicized right now, it's ridiculous. I voted to renovate like new. That's all that needs to be done. That's all that needs to be said. Period.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
The reason that this is happening and the reason we're here is because a member of the council went to a public meeting and spoke about closing a school. That's the reason people are upset. We've had people come to council meetings and to hear in tears. You can hear their voice, right? Because they're concerned their children's schools are going to get closed. If that statement wasn't made, we wouldn't be here. We would not have people, we'd have people still wanting the renovation, but we wouldn't have the level of angst. And I believe we need to reaffirm what we believe because of that. We need to let people know the Board of Education, who is the body that's in charge of what happens with the schools, is not looking to close a school, is not looking to change the configuration. And unfortunately, we have to do it. And is it political? I don't know. All I know is somebody, an elected official, stood up and said, hey, we're thinking about closing a school. It's put us in a very difficult position. And so now we are responding to that position. And I think to let the public kind of hang out there and not let them know how the Board of Education feels is wrong. Matter of fact, we probably should have done this, I don't know, when was that statement made? We should have done it the day after. But, it's where we're at. So that's my feeling.
A point of order too, Madam Chairman, that we, in effect, we will have to reapply this year anyway. So we really, just to cover all of our bases, we should, as most people have said tonight, that what we really need to do is to make it clear, one, the responsibility is only ours, not the town council, by more than one state statute. Two, we do agree that it is not feasible at all, if not totally nonsensical, to even consider closing a school. And third, we would reaffirm and re-give the superintendent of schools our authority to reapply this year to the state of Connecticut to renovate the middle school of Plainville as new. And that we would do under new business as a proposed motion. And so I think that it makes sense for us to do that. I think you were right. I think everyone has to know where we stand. And if there's somebody on this board, it is well within their rights to object to that. That's why we live in a democracy. Right. So I think we should bring this to a vote under new business tonight, and I would move that we also, or suggest because of the hour, that we move this meeting forward.
Thank you.
Question, please. We are reaffirming something that was already done on June 6, 2022, correct?
Correct.
If that's the case, then I'm going to have to abstain, because I was not part of that on June 6, 2022.
Right, but we're affirming it as of right now.
But I can't, because I wasn't one of the people that voted. I can't affirm something I wasn't a part of.
And legally, it changes nothing. It doesn't change our vote. I understand what you're looking for. You're looking for unity, but I don't think that any of us have ununified.
If we're looking for how people feel, I'll be the first to say, as the newest member, that I wholeheartedly support the decision that was made on June 6, 2022, to do a renovate like new of the middle school of Plainville.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move forward right now to the board subcommittee reports. And we'll start with Foster for the finance.
There has been no meeting of the Facilities and Finance Subcommittee since our last meeting, and there is no meeting scheduled to my knowledge, but I hope there will be one soon.
Thanks, Foster. Policy Subcommittee report, Crystal?
Yep, the Policy Subcommittee met on Monday, May 1st, and we discussed the student dress policy, the student dress regulation, the community relations public complaints policy and regulation, and we also kind of reviewed CABE's newest policy updates. Let's see. So the policy was discussed back in February. We discussed it again. We've made a little changes and stuff to the policy and regulations. Changes will be made, and then subcommittee will get it again, and then we'll bring it to the board, I believe, in June, at the June board meeting.
Okay.
And we also reviewed the public complaints policy and regulation. The subcommittee reviewed the creation of a request for re-evaluation of instructional materials form. The new form will be changed, and again, that will also be brought to a subcommittee at another time for a final approval, and will also, the subcommittee will also take a look at the policy and regulation to kind of update some of that wording, if I believe. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Next, we have the curriculum subcommittee report. Rebecca?
No report, the next meeting's in June.
June, okay. And the outreach subcommittee, there's no report. Foster, the high school?
Yeah, the PAC has not met since our last meeting. They're scheduled to meet this Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, I believe, in the Learning Commons. That's the end of my report.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I just add something for policy?
Sure.
The regulation form is actually on the consent agenda for tonight because it was just from regulations, so it just needed a consent agenda approval.
Okay.
It wasn't the policy change.
Okay. Thank you. And then Taflon School, Rebecca?
No report this evening.
Okay. Linden Street School, Cassandra?
Yes, London Street School's been doing a great job. They have their Scholastic Book Fair. They're doing things to celebrate Teachers Week every day. This week with having the children do various activities like thank you cards for the teachers and guided things for them to participate in. I wanted to reach out and put a plug in for Nicole Machad, the president of the Linden PTO. She does an amazing job. She works beyond and above anybody I've ever seen volunteer for a PTO. And we're also looking forward to field day coming up and the graduations. So
Thank you so much. Crystal, the middle school?
Yep, so the MSP-PTC met on April 18th. Let's see, they just finished up their Spirit Wear fundraiser. Let's see, they have another fundraiser. They're busy this week with, I believe it's tomorrow, they're doing breakfast for middle school teachers for the middle school and some snacks on Thursday, I believe. And then they're in the middle of a Flower Power fundraiser for some flowers. That deadline is May 15th. Let's see. And I think that's just about it. And they meet tomorrow night at 7.
Great, tomorrow night. Thank you. And Rachel Wheeler?
Good evening, everyone. Rachel Buchanan, liaison to Wheeler School. Last meeting, I had wanted to share something, but in the spirit of time, I didn't get into it. But in the Wheeler Flash, written by a section on the front page written by Mr. Batchelder, there was a portion that discussed chronic absenteeism and what he is doing at Wheeler to focus in and help our student results with this. For those of you who have been paying attention and following along, post-pandemic, this has really been a challenge for our teachers and administrators and school systems to get a handle on across the district, and it's very serious. So I just wanted to recommend that regardless of what school your child is in, that information provided by Mr. B from Wheeler was excellent. I had the pleasure of, I try to log into many of the Connecticut State Department of Education webinars and trainings as possible. And they did a really excellent one on chronic absenteeism and what they're doing at the state level to help support our school systems across Connecticut with this. And I was very, very impressed. It sounds like they've really gone back to square one and revisited what we need to do and collecting new data in a really creative way. And I just wanted to say that because I didn't have an opportunity last time. So a little bit different of an update, but one I think, especially as we end a school year and have important conversations around our academic results as a district, that this is something where, we can really work as a community to get a handle on, and as a board, we could really support our PCS educators. And anytime we have an opportunity to talk with families, suggest that you reach out to your leaders so you can help learn how to best support your student being at school. So I really wanted to share that. I'm very proud to say that Wheeler has done an amazing job leading the schools as far as Spirit Day fundraising. Fantastic, fantastic job, Wheeler. And lastly, the PTO meeting for June 2nd is going to be an end-of-year family celebration. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Becky, the Crack Council report?
I don't have a specific report, but their annual meeting is going to be scheduled on May 17th.
Okay, and I don't have a chairperson's report, so we're going to move to unfinished business. There is currently no unfinished business this evening, so we can now move forward to board open forum.
Yes, Madam, I just have a request to our friends up in the booth. We are sitting at this angle here. We're having a little bit of difficulty seeing these boards, so next time when you set them up, if you can move them back about 2 or 3 feet, just don't want to go by the edge of the table so people would hit it going through. But, you know, I kind of have to get up this way to see the bottom of the screen, and if you could do that, I would appreciate it. And I think the folks on my left and right would as well.
Thank you.
Got it. Thanks.
Go ahead, Lori.
Okay. The Board of Education voted on June 6, 2022 to renovate the middle school like new. We have done our job as board and have turned our recommendation over to the town council. The town council is now evaluating the big picture that expands beyond our scope. I look forward to working with the town council in our future work sessions and continue our discussions on what's best for the entire Plainville school community, not just MSP. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to congratulate again the top 10% of the class that we awarded tonight, as well as the valedictorian and salutatorian. I wish them all the best. Anyone else?
Madam Chair, I just want to say congratulations to our new PHS principal, Jennifer DiLorenzo, and thank you to all of our cafeteria workers. I know we had that day, and it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and they do not have an easy job, and they are very much appreciated. And also School Nurse Appreciation Day is coming up too. I believe that's actually today, right?
May 10th, it's coming up.
Happy School Nurse Appreciation Day.
One more thing, Madam Chairman. I would like to recognize one of the best weathermen from the MSP News is in our audience tonight. I just want to thank him for saying I do occasionally get the MSP News in the morning. And I really love the way you give the weather forecast and your other announcements. You have a very good, really good speaking voice, and thank you for your work at MSP News. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak for board open forum?
Yes, I just wanted to say too, congratulations to the valedictorians getting this Spencer and Matthew a year earlier. I think it's wonderful that we're having Teachers Week and that so many things are happening to celebrate our teachers throughout all the schools. I also wanted to also share celebrating that it's Nurses Week, and our nurses in our schools do a great deal protecting all our children, keeping us healthy, especially in the last 3 years. Wanted to also just reiterate that on June 6th, 2022, I voted in support of renovating
Anyone else wish to speak?
Madam Chair. I also would like to congratulate all of our award winners tonight. What an incredible feat. I heard aerospace and top 10% of our class. That is not an easy feat. Very challenging. Congratulations to our Interscholastic Scholars of the Year, as well our CABE student leaders, and to all of our teachers in the district. Thank you so much for all that you do. Eleanor Roosevelt established Teachers Appreciation Day and Week in 1953, and for that to share a time frame with nurses is just perfect, because I think they're both some of the greatest human beings that I have to know. So thank you to all of our teachers. I hope you enjoyed getting a little extra spoiled this week. I also wanted to touch on, I don't think anyone knows this because it hasn't come up, because to me, it doesn't matter. One of the few meetings that I ever missed when I was very ill was the vote for the Renovate Like New, this particular vote that we're talking about. None of you would have ever known that I didn't participate in that vote, because I fully supported the vote of my unanimous team here. So that's the vote of which I support, is the vote that was taken on June 6, 2022. Even though it was in my absence, I trust that my team and our one employee, Mr. Steve LePage, had presented us with the information at that time to make the best decision in front of us. With that being said, I do understand that what we're looking at is the Plainville Community Schools, and I do understand that what the town council is looking at is broader. I am not saying whether or not what they should do move forward. I'm not in a position to tell them what to do. All I can tell to all of you is that I have not changed my mind in supporting the vote that was taken a year ago. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Board open forum. We're going to move to the quarterly special education report, cost report, which I'm seeing there is none. Mr. Adlerstein, do you have a turf committee report?
Yes, I do, and it's in your packet, but just to pick out a few things from that report that are of interest. One is we're working with our partner organizations to do a better job with accountability for when folks are using our facilities at night, not just outdoors in the turf areas, but also indoors. So we're starting a check-in, check-out procedure where they would check in, check out, make sure that nothing was damaged, and make sure that they're supervising their charges at night. And we covered that at a meeting with our community partners. I think just space to be able to accommodate all the folks who want to use our facilities outside of school hours is an ongoing issue, and we do our best to accommodate.
Right.
Quick question, Sam. Are we still allowing advertising on the field? There was a fundraising thing to have advertisers, especially during the football and soccer season.
That lapsed during COVID,
yeah.
And there is energy toward, it was reported to us that there's energy toward restarting that,
yeah, okay.
With the backers,
yeah.
And I think some new members of the backers and people who want to carry the flag for that, and
oh, good.
But some of the revenue will come to us. We haven't seen that yet.
Thank you. So next we're going to move on to this possible voting regarding school closure consolidation considerations. This is just a motion to direct the superintendent to convey that the board has reviewed the MSP situation and, given the low likelihood of a consolidation or reconfiguration of schools, affirms its earlier decisions to proceed to an application with the state for an MSP Renovate Like New project and an MSP Renovate Like New project referendum.
I so move, Madam Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain, Madam Chair.
I abstain, Madam Chair.
I abstain, Madam Chair.
I'm abstaining.
Let's do a roll call for the in favor. I'm in favor of it.
I voted aye, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
And Crystal, I voted aye too.
So it would be a 5-4, motion carries. Moving on,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I'd like to make a motion for the Board of Ed to have no further study or consideration of school closures or consolidations.
Can we do that without it being on the,
It is on the agenda. It's possible vote on school consolidations or closures.
I'll second that.
It's new business, item D.
Possible vote regarding school closure consolidation. So, and what did you want to add to this?
To have no further study or consideration of school closures.
Until when? For what schools? Forever?
We have to be specific. We do.
I mean, if you put it on there like that, it means we'll never be able to study at other school, ever again.
I think another Board of Education, you know, sensibility.
Point of order,
would
Madam
apply.
Chairman, would you read reread the motion that we just voted on, please?
Yes. The motion is motion to direct the superintendent to convey that the board has reviewed the MSP situation and given the low likelihood of a consolidation or reconfiguration of schools, affirms its earlier decision to proceed to an application with the state for an MSP Renovate Like New project and an NSP Renovate Like New project referendum.
The one that we did, I think she's proposing something else.
And on the agenda, it specifically says possible vote regarding school closure or consolidation considerations.
To my understanding, school closure would be in the Board of Ed's purview, and I think we can get ahead on this and be the lead voice on this.
Needs to be more specific then. It has to be like middle school. It has to be how, you can't just.
You can't take a vote on something that's not actually on the table.
Well, it's on the table. It's sitting here in front of us.
But to close the schools isn't on the table. There's no proposal for a school closure.
We could take a vote right now to say, I don't know. I mean, somebody could say, we're going to paint the building purple, and we could sit here right now and say, look, because people are confused and they think we're going to paint a building purple, we're going to say right now, we would not condone painting a building purple, okay? It is on the agenda. I'm just saying to you that you're asking about if people can take a vote about, I don't even know what you're asking. You're confusing me. But I'm just saying to you, we could take a vote about, not just because somebody's doing something, we could take a vote because there's a perception that something's being done to clarify a perception. We're allowed to do that. The perception is schools might be closed. So we could take a vote and say the Board of Education is not interested in closing or consolidating public schools at this point in time in the school year 2022-23. If that would make you feel better, we'll put a year in there.
Point of order, has the member made a motion?
Yes.
Then
There's a motion
the
and a second
The
on the
member has
floor.
made the motion. Has anyone seconded the motion? Then
Yes.
we may discuss the motion. Otherwise, the motion is out of order. So has anybody seconded her motion? I understand the
Yes.
motion as we don't do
Yes,
this.
Crystal seconded it.
Okay, okay, seconded, that's
Oh,
perfect.
Becky.
Then we may discuss it.
So 4 members of this Board of Education have already stated very clearly where we are currently. We are not suggesting closure, and there's not an action item on our table in front of us to close or consolidate a school. We would need a vote. We would need to be sitting here being asked. You're asking me to vote on a hypothetical when there is not an action item on the table. If you were asking me if right now, if the town council, and this is the key word, and I think that this is where we are allowed to have discussion, and I'm going to discuss this because it's very important that we have discussion. At this point in time, we have already done our piece of this work. At this point, the town council is doing their work. You're asking me to, if the town council does a feasibility study, which they may or may not even do, that's being discussed on the 15th. We can have this conversation on the 15th. I'd be happy to. Have a conversation on the 15th with the town council, be able to have additional discussion. If we're able to do it by that date, it sounds like if we were to determine to go forward, we might be able to get it in under the deadline if we chose to proceed. If the town council decided to move forward with a feasibility study, which has been none of our suggestions to my knowledge, if they decided to move forward with that, and then that data came back and was presented to this Board of Education, at that point, I would be happy to do what you're asking me to do based on actual information in front of me, not on a hypothetical. Thank you.
But today we did get data from the superintendent that told what our schools are, that our schools are full, the feasibility studies, I'm sorry, I think it's a waste of money, of our taxpayers' money. If we know our schools, we can't really close the middle school and consolidate. I understand the frustrations of the parents. I'm frustrated as a parent, and I'm sad that it comes down to this. Really sad. I've always kept quiet, but I would move out of this town if I had younger kids. I am very sad. Those schools, our kids need that. Our kids need we used to get auditorium, the different things. If we did consolidate and move kids to Linden, it's going to cost us even more than the renovate like new. It's just ridiculous. And it's right here on there, possible vote regarding school closure or consolidation considerations. You said it's not on the table. However, it's been talked about all over.
The point is that the council cannot do it by law. And so, no, they cannot. Only we can do that.
Only we can move on what the feasibility says.
No. Only we can conduct a feasibility study. And that's what her motion is, that we will not conduct it. We do not believe a feasibility study is correct.
Just a clarification. The town can do a study if they'd like to, but the only one who can decide whether to close or consolidate is the Board of Ed, just to clarify that.
Yeah, but the decision is ours. So,
And Crystal, I'm glad that you spoke up.
Remember Martinez's vote is that we not do that. We would not. Does I understand that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Then I move the question.
Yeah, but we are not doing that. We are not proposing a feasibility study. That's my whole point. That's all.
Right, so my point, and it would be letting the town council know that we are not gonna consolidate or close a school. So them spending money on a study is ridiculous, because we're advocating for our students.
And I hear you, and I appreciate that, and I have told you that along with other Board of Education members that our vote to renovate like new, I guess I'm confused at the disconnect.
Yeah, is there, you know, it's in our purview to decide whether or not to close or consolidate, correct?
I know that that is only in our purview, which is why I am confused as to why we're still sitting here having this conversation when we're talking about a motion about the consideration of a consolidating or closing a school, when that is not what we are doing today. We are not doing that at all. We have advocated for Renovate Like New. This entire Board of Education has supported that. That is what's going to happen on this May 15th work session when we have an opportunity to come together with the town council. You're asking us to vote on something before we do the actual work that is laid out here in front of us.
Well, I think you know about more work than I do, because I don't know that there's a study being done. Also, we're under the umbrella of the State Board of Education.
We don't know
We
a
are
study's
under
being
the
done. Rebecca.
State Board of Education.
Rebecca, I don't know anything you don't know.
The work session on the 15th. Right.
Point of
That's
order.
what we're talking about.
Point of
Point
order.
of order, yeah.
Please, guys, one at a time. Please speak one at a time.
I thank you for the time. I think I've been very clear. And it's what disheartens me as someone who is third generation with fourth generation currently in the school system is that this has been politicized, and it has been politicized. And that is what really, really makes me sad, is to see folks here wanting to talk 15 steps ahead instead of where we are currently at in the process.
I just want to say too, I know you guys to have some patience, because this.
We need to speak to the board, not to the
Yeah,
audience.
we're not supposed to be talking.
They were talking in my, towards me, sorry.
They can, well, if the chair lets them, they can.
I want to renovate the school as new. We are not at that step yet. And when I say being politicized, I mean slowing it down. I know we have steps to take. There's a work session on the 15th. There's a process involved. And I don't know why we have to change the process. And this is part of why only 15% of the kids nationwide know their civics lessons, because they're not being taught civics. And the kids in the history, they're not being taught history. That's politics. That's
Lori, you
there's
gotta call
sometimes
point of order
people
on the
are-
people in the audience.
Point of order, we cannot discuss anything with people in the audience.
I'm not.
The audience needs to not speak to us, please.
Members in the audience is not allowed to speak to the Board of Education.
Thank you. That there's misunderstanding that the process is there, and the trust in the process, and the board needs to trust each other. And everyone on here voted to renovate like new. I don't know why everybody has to repeat it 100 times. Is it because I have an R after my name and somebody has a D after their name? I don't know, but we are all the board, we are all working together. We should trust in each other and in each other's vote that we took on June 6th, and then work together at a work session going forward.
Right,
It's a
and
process. That's it.
and as far as I'm under the impression is that the only thing Rebecca wants to do is have us just affirm that we're not going to participate in paying for another, is that what you're,
Well, what we're doing here is we are trying to put people's minds at ease, because when we voted last year, no one was talking about closing or consolidating anything. Again, a member of the town council, you can huff all you want, a member of the town council proposed a closure. That proposal has caused angst in our community. Crystal says nothing. Did you hear her emotion? A lot of people have that emotion. And for us to be arguing about making a gosh darn motion that says we, the Board of Education, are not interested in consolidating or closing a school right now, and if we can't do that, I mean, what are we even arguing about? What is this about? I don't understand the issue. This is about giving people a sense that they can feel a little more secure, okay? And we can do that. We have the ability to do that, but for some reason, that seems to be a problem. I don't understand why we would be conflicted about giving people some sense of security.
Again, Madam Chair, I move the question. I'm noticing people up there are really, they've been through a long meeting, and I think we should vote on this issue right now.
Then I'll ask for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I'm confused. I'm the newest member here, and I don't know if I'm even allowed to vote for this because I couldn't vote for the June 6th.
That's not what this is for. This is just saying that you're not.
I'm hearing you say in the beginning of this, when we're talking, we're reaffirming. I honestly don't even know what the motion on the table is anymore because we're saying we can't close schools. I understand that. I mean, I'm in full support of renovating the middle school. And I've said this publicly, as a renovate is new. I mean, if I'm in full support of that, that would mean I'm not interested in closing it.
Bingo.
So I guess where my confusion is it's too
We're doing
broad.
it for the public. It's for the public to understand that we are not interested in closing or consolidating.
But I thought that was understood on June 6, 2022.
No, June 6th was a motion to
Renovate like new,
renovate Lake New.
which has not changed.
So do you have a time frame for this? I'm just confused. I honestly don't know what the motion is.
Could we ask Joan to read us back the motion that Rebecca made, just so that we get back to that?
I'm honestly confused.
Thank you, Joe.
Basically saying she had a motion for no further study or consideration for the middle school. I'm sorry, I didn't get it right.
I'd like to make a motion to have no further study or consideration of school closures for the 2022-2023 school year.
That's an amendment, adding the school year.
Adding the school year's amendment.
Done by the Board of Education.
Correct.
Even though we have no discussion of doing this, can you reread the motion again, please, adding in the 2022 to 2023 school year specifically, please?
To have no further study or consideration of school closures for the 2022-2023 school year.
I'll second that as amended.
I move the question.
Means we have to vote.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Do I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do you want to have
I'm going
hands?
to vote yes for that because of the tightened up motion and specific timeline and the clarity of the motion, which is important to be very clear and specific about exactly what we're communicating on. So I vote in favor of the motion.
I'm in favor of this vote.
I'm trying to write their names
I
down.
abstain. Joan, Gloucester, this is Roberta. I abstained from the initial vote because it was in reference to the June 6, 2022 vote, which I was not a part of. I am in favor of the vote, of the motion that was just made now.
Are you polling? I voted for the vote.
Yeah, I know.
For the measure.
Right. Motion carries.
Thank you very much for discussion.
We need to go on to the Oak Hill contract.
Yeah.
I think Sam's going to help us.
So this is related to the middle school, but it's the rental space at the middle school. Each year, we go year to year with Oak Hill for renting our space, and we propose a 2% increase for what they pay, would bring their rent to $97,003. The other difference in this year's proposal to Oak Hill would be for them to provide their own custodial service. Currently, we're providing that service, and it's really stretching our custodians thin. And we've had preliminary discussions on both these terms with Oak Hill, and believe that there'll be an agreement.
Okay. Do I have a motion to authorize the Director of Business and Operations to enter into a one-year contract with Oak Hill Academy for the use of space at the middle school of Plainville?
So approved.
For the period of 9/1 to 8/31/24. All in favor?
Aye.
And I second that.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Joe and I'll be the second.
Motion passes.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion with deepest regrets to accept the administrative resignation of Mr. Steve LePage as superintendent of schools.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Sadly. Motion passes.
Motion for the consent agenda as items A through F,
Is there any need for discussion?
not for the consent agenda.
Okay. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion unanimously carries. Meeting's adjourned.